Yo, 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 we are live. We are live out in the UK, man. Oh man, there's so much I want to talk about this video. Shout out to everyone that's here. Shout out to Punch Cole. I see you, Republica, Cat, man. No, yo, I'm gonna let a few more people get in, and we're gonna talk more about the fight from last night. The original plan was for me to rewatch the fight, and I just didn't get around to it. Um, I spent I didn't get home till really, really late last night, and I spent the majority of the day sleeping. And then I actually just went out. I went over to Tottenham. Went to that area and went out to a restaurant over there, and I was chilling over there for the majority of the time today. And I just got back a little while ago. And I wanted to spend this video talking a little bit about the fight. I wanted to respond to a lot of the comments and some of the feedback that I've been getting on the fight from last night. Uh, First of all, shout out to everybody that's from out here. I've been getting a lot of love and support from everybody from out here. Shout out to the few people that I met last night at the fight, too. Everybody was really, really cool. But today we're going to talk more in detail about my trip and how everything went. So I got, I had a really, really funny time last night. So random after the fight, but we'll get to that. But I wanted to respond to a lot of the comments I've been reading and the reactions of the fight. I wanted to speak on that and some of the things that I've been seeing online and everybody's reaction to the fight last night. I know you guys know I wanted Arthur. I'm sorry, I wanted I wanted Anthony Yard to win last night. Um, and I knew it was an uphill battle for him to win that. I knew that, and I said that in my video. But I told you win or lose, I knew Yard was gonna give him, if not the hardest fight in his professional career, one of the hardest fights. Going into this fight, I thought Volstik gave him the best fight, but I didn't think Volstik had any real moments of where he was like in control. Whereas in Yard, even though Yard lasted a shorter period of time, I thought Yard brought the better fight, in my opinion. I think he beat up Better BF more than Volstik did. Volstik lasted longer. A couple other fighters lasted longer than Yard, but Yard gave Better BF the best fight. And I think that, not for nothing, and I read a lot of your comments and the prediction videos that I did, but leading up to the fight, a lot of you guys weren't giving any Yard any chance at all. I mean, some of you gotta have to admit that going into this fight, you thought that Yard was gonna get blown away even quicker than Joe Smith. You know, um, no one gave Yard much of a chance. A few people did, but for the majority, there were a lot of people though that predicted for Yard to lose around the eighth round. I knew if Yard were to lose the fight, I was kind of in the area from the seventh to the 10th. I thought that the longer the fight would go, the more would be in Better Be his favor. And I said this in a breakdown. The longer the fight went, the worse for Yard. Because even though Yarder is fresher and he's younger, he doesn't have the experience. And I knew Yard was going to start out fast, but I knew that the longer it went, especially what I think I said in the video, the fifth round, if Yard can't stop him by then he's starting to get into the danger zone with Better BF. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to everyone that's coming in, man. Um, just let me know in the comments real quick, how is the internet doing? Because I paid a little extra for the higher speed Wi-Fi here, so I wouldn't have any hiccups or anything like that. So let me know if the internet is good and if it's smooth. Because if it's not smooth, then I don't want to stay on live. I was kind of like hoping that the internet was real good. If it wasn't real good, I was just gonna wait until I got back home and finish it out. All right, everybody's saying it's good. What's up? What's good, Woog? What's good, Woog? What's good, Kano? I see you guys. Shout out to everyone that's here, man. Afro Soul, Scott, El Chivo, Jihad, Ace, Graham S, Glenn R, and Roders, Roy. All right. I see you guys here. Greg, Jepson. So, so the fight, or what happens now? Oh, I did see the post-fight interviews. Uh, both of them were extremely. I don't know why people dislike Yard. Why do you guys just like there's like a hatred towards him? I don't understand it. He's never given me a reason to dislike him because even though he's confident, he's never come off as arrogant. I don't feel I feel leading up to the fight, people predicted for him to lose, and that's fine. But there was like a hatred going, like they wanted him to lose, and people just felt like he just wasn't worthy for this kind of fight. Now I know on his resume doesn't say much, but before the fight, and people are giving him his props now. He's getting so much love. His stock just risen. But I'm talking about before the fight. It was just like people were like, "It's 2 rounds, 1 round, 3 rounds." I was getting a lot of those. Like he wouldn't stand a chance. I don't know what it is, but I don't think he's a dislikable person. There are certain fighters where you go into a fight and I can see why you kind of not like him. But Yard, I don't see why people dislike him. Anytime you give even the interview after the fight, both of them, they give amazing interviews. It's so much respect, there's so much humbleness. It's just I feel like this guy says all the right things. And that's part of the reason why I like him. Same with Better BF. Better BF has all this experience in the world. He's beaten all these amateurs, right? And he gives an interview and he's still talking as if he doesn't think he's good enough in the sport, which is crazy to me. Like you are clearly one of the best fighters in the world, right? And you're one of the hardest punchers in the world, and you're one of the best KO artists in the world, right? You are the best KO artist in the world. And you still speak as in like you're a humble dude. Like this fight was tough. Even in the post, oh, I'm sorry, the press conference, he's 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 saying to the promoter or the announcer or whoever that was speaking for the both of them, he's like, what do you want me to dislike this guy? The guy was trying to start an issue between him and Yard, and Better Be was like, what do you want me to hate this guy? Or he made a comment, and Yard is very confident of himself, but there's a difference between confident and being arrogant. Where you're like arrogance, it's like there's like some level of delusion, like you feel like you're just bigger than everything and you haven't even yet proven yourself. And I think Yard, after this fight, he's definitely risen his stock. What I would like from Yard from this point on is I want Yard to fight a very good fighter at 175, but not the top tier. Callum Smith is the Mando now, the WBA Mando, I believe. I would have loved to see Yard fight Callum Smith. Like, I think the timing of that fight is perfect. Of course, Callum's probably going to want his shot against Arthur Better BF, but Yard versus Callum Smith for a UK fight is an excellent fight. I would love that fight. Joshua Buatsi is a good fight too, but the Callum Smith fight would be great for Yard if he were to win that fight because Callum Smith has done much more, winning the tournament back at 168, being a champion at 168, coming up to 175 and giving us some crazy knockouts. But I think even though Callum Smith is probably bigger and he's probably a bigger one punch power like type of guy. I think Yard is a better boxer. I think he has more. Just his ability is just he's a freakish athlete. It's the reason why he has fought at this level with so little fights. This is why I like Yard. I like him because I just don't. There's no fighter in this sport that has the low amount of experience that he has that's been able to do this much and fight at this level. For a guy to just come out of nowhere, have just a few amateur fights, 12 amateur fights, and to fight at this level against a guy that's had over, had 300 amateur fights and do this well against him. I don't know how you not respect that guy. How do you not respect him? Let me see what you guys are saying. Boxing War Check Cast says Yard is good, but he may be one of those guys who never wins a world title, world level boss. See, this is what a problem I've had, and I want to respond to that comment, and I've been getting a few even before the fight. For the people that says Yard will never be world champ, Paul Butler was just world champ. You get what I'm saying? Like Paul Butler was just the world champion, right? Do you know that Adrian Broner is a 4 division world champ? And 3 of those divisions, he won a title off a vacant title. So when we say that a fighter will never be world champ, what do you mean by that? He literally fought against Sergey Kovalev and Artur Beterbiev. Those were the only 2 title shots he had. Like, how much better is Callum Smith? Because when Callum Smith fought Canelo, he got dominated at 168. But when he fought against John Ryder, I think he lost the fight. For all the fights before that, when he fought George Groves, he beat Groves. Cool, great win. But when we say that, like, you got to understand there are people that can get titles in this sport. And I feel like even in defeat, Yard proved to me that he's at least world level. Even in defeat. I think he improved since the Kovalev fight. I think that if he wasn't world level, he would have got destroyed yesterday. I mean, he did get destroyed if we really thinking about it, but it was a competitive fight. The way he went out, yes, he got stopped. He took a lot of punishment. He survived based off durability. But he's shown to me that he's at least world level. You don't perform that way and not be world level. Did you guys see Beterbiev's face after the fight? These guys were both in a stitching room getting stitches done. Both of them. This guy, I don't understand like what the fans like. Paul Butler was just a champion. What are we talking about here? Like winning a world title. First of all, this is my stance on this, and I've said this before in other videos. I don't think winning a world title automatically means you're world level, because you could be that first or second or third ranked fighter and fight for a world title. Like look at the who's the guy, the heavyweight that everybody was ducking recently? Hergovich. Hergovich was getting avoided so much that they were going down the rankings and everybody was saying no. There was like a list of 8. There were like 8 fighters that was saying no to this guy. Right? Now let's say we were at let's just say Hergovic was the interim or he was fighting for a vacant title and everybody was avoiding him. right? They were going to other sanctioning bodies like Joe Parker, or we had Joe Parker, we had uh Mike Hunter, we had all these fighters. Let's just say they just kept avoiding him and just passed up on his title opposite. How far down would he have had kept going? If you guys get my point, when you guys say he's never be a world champion, he might not ever be a world champion, but it really is based on who's holding the titles. It's like basketball. You know, some of the greatest players of all time never got a ring because they played in a time where Michael Jordan was playing. Charles Barkley, one of the greatest power forwards of all time, he never got a ring because he played at a time where Michael Jordan was playing. But there's other guys that, like a Robert Horry, he probably got like 7 rings. He was never the leader of any team he played for. He just happened to be on a team that kept winning titles. It's no different with boxing. It depends who's there. And unfortunately, 175, if you guys been on this channel, if you've been watching my videos for years, you will know that 175 has been one of the best divisions that I've covered on this channel over the past decade. 175 was always tough. Pound for pound, 175 was one of the best divisions in this sport. 175 is up there. 140 has always easily been up there. As far as top fighters fighting tight fighters, 154 is up there. Uh Cruiserweight was up there at one point, right? Not so much right now, but Cruiserweight was up there at one point, and then you got the smaller divisions. Like 118 and down. But 175 has always been the shit. It's very hard to win a world title at 175 when there's the same 2 guys that has been at the top of the division since Andre Ward left, since and Adonis Stevenson left, since Sergey Kovalev. I mean, he's not retired, but since he's been past his prime. Ever since those 3 have fell back from the division, it still was difficult because Bivol and Better BF is at the very least, they're at those guys' level. So it didn't get any easier. There's only a few divisions that's like that, where a fighter, the top tier fighters move up, and the top tier fighters that are or moving up or at that division underneath those guys are just as good. It's very, very, very rare. So Anthony Yard, unfortunately for him, he had to face Kovalev with no experience at all because Yard didn't fight anyone good before Kovalev. And that was a problem I had with him going into that fight. Um, and I remember doing a breakdown for that fight. I said that I like Yard. I like his ability. I like what he can do against the fighters he fought at that time. But he didn't have the experience against Kovalev. He didn't even have the experience against Better BF. But he got a lot more experience against Better BF. And he gave him a hell of a fight. And to be honest, Yard landed the right shots. But there were certain things that he did, kept falling into those traps. Your Better BF was good, man. Better BF was so smart. He kept luring this guy right, and every single time he landed a big shot, landed a big right hand, landed the check left hook, Better BF will back himself right into the corner and lure him in. And Yard, with the inexperience, he just walked right into a trap every time. And the further the fight went, every time he walked into the trap, he got punished more because he stayed in the corner longer each and every time. So me and the guys I was sitting next to, we were sitting there screaming, "Get out of the corner, get out of the corner." And he was sitting in the corner trap longer and longer and longer. Alex, I agree with you. Alex says, Callum Smith a better puncher than Yard. Callum Smith is a better puncher than Yard, in my opinion. I think he hits much harder, but Callum Smith is a lot more stiff than Yard. He's not as fast. He's not as explosive, but he has a punch knockout power. He's up there with punching power at the division for sure. He's up there with Better BF. He's up there with Joe Smith Jr. Yard has punching power, but I think there are certain fighters that punch harder than him for sure. Because if Yard punched as hard as Callum Smith, I think he would have knocked out Better BF or at least hurt him really bad, like Callum Johnson did. Like Callum Johnson had nothing else but punching chance. Same with Joe Smith, but Joe Smith boxed horribly. Callum Johnson caught Better BF in the middle of an exchange while he was already hurt and caught him with one big punch. Callum Johnson was legit, like a legit puncher. He just didn't have the boxing ability to go with it. He had nothing else. I think Yard brings more to the table than Callum Smith. It's just that Callum Smith, he could change the direction of the fight with one punch. And Callum Smith is a better puncher at 175 than 168. I know Callum Smith hasn't fought like the very, very strongest fighters yet at 175, but you can tell just from seeing his fights now that he should have probably moved up to 175 a long time ago. He was way too big. He's bigger than everybody else at 175. Him and Zerto Ramirez are probably like, they're probably bigger than everybody else at the division, in my opinion. But I think Yard at this point, Yard needs to fight another top tier 175 light heavyweight. He needs to fight Callum Smith. He needs to fight Joshua Buatsi. He needs to fight Zerto Ramirez. Um, he needs to fight who else is out there? Who else is at 175? Let me know in the comments. Who else is out at 175 that's like top tier that's not a champion? Joe Smith is I don't know what Joe Smith is doing. Joe Smith is still around. Um, you know, let me pull up. Let me pull up box real quick because I want to bring up some names. I want to see Yard fight someone other than the very best in the division. I don't want to see him fight Bevo. I don't want to see, he lost a Better BF already. Callum Smith, Joe Smith Jr., Gilberto Ramirez, John Pascal's good fight. Buatsi, I said him. Bowder Leak, he just lost to Callum Smith, but that would be a good fight. And not for nothing, man. I don't know what Canelo is gonna do. But if Canelo ever decides to dip his toes back at 175, that would be a good fight. That would be a good fight for both. That would be a good fight for Canelo. I'm cool with that fight too. There's Craig Richards out there. He's local. They can make that fight. That could be a big UK thing. All those fights are fine. All of these fights here that I just named are all good. All good to me. But I would love to see Yard against Canelo. But I don't know if he gets that fight. But if Canelo moves in a way where he's gonna do what he wants to do. He's at the level where he can do what he wants to do. You know, what's up, Arlette? Um, yeah, I see you guys arguing about that in the comments. Yeah, good. Like, they're all good fights. Better BF and Bevo. My thoughts. I'm still leaning towards Bevo. You know, uh, I told you guys yesterday if Bevo were to fight the winner of this fight, I would lean towards Bevo, even if Yard had won. Marcus Brown is another good opponent too for Yard. I would like to see that too. Bevo wins the fight to me. But I want to see it. Yo, I was reading a few comments. Bevo and Volstick, a few of you guys compared the two. I think at the time that Volstick and Better BF fought, I thought it was a better comparison because at that time we didn't see too much from Bevo or Volstick at the time, or even Better BF. Okay, so I think I don't know what you guys, but let me say maybe around 2017-ish. right? Around that time, 2017, maybe 2018, around that time, I felt like Bivol and Volsdik were great boxers on maybe around the same level. Uh, and then you had Better BF who looked like an extremely dangerous puncher. But at that time, we didn't know how good his technical ability was until he fought Volsdik. Now, after watching Volstik fight Better BF, and we saw how Better BF, for the most part, dominated him. Um, when I look at Volsdik and I look at his career, and I know he beat Adonis Stevenson, which was a very good win, and it was a bigger win than the other two fighters had. Adonis Stevenson was definitely far past his prime. It is what it is. Him and Kovalev, right around when Kovalev lost to uh not Ward, but what's the other fighter he lost to after that? Not Canelo. Who's the other fighter he lost to? I can't think of his name right now. Let me know in the comments. I can't think of his name right now. I felt like at that time, Kovalev was clearly not in his prime anymore. He was still very good. He was still a champion, but he wasn't at his prime. And same with Stevenson. Stevenson wasn't at his Bottle Jack fight with Stevenson was not a good performance with Stevenson. Stevenson was clearly past it. Stevenson was a champion and was a top dog when he was already in his late 30s. Alita Alvarez, my bad. Thank you. Um, Around that time, it was clear that Sergey Kovalev was past it, for me, because Andre Ward, those fights didn't really make me feel he was past it. I thought that Ward did a good job going to his body and outworking him in the rematch. I don't think Ward won the first fight. So I didn't feel like Kovalev was past it until the Alita Alvarez. And even though he picked up the win in the rematch, I still feel that Kovalev at that point, him getting with Buddy McGirt, it was probably because he wasn't the crusher no more. Kovalev had to rely simply off his boxing ability, his jab. You know, he didn't rely on just destroying everybody he fought anymore. You know, um. So when it comes to Volsdik and Bivol, I think at that time it was hard to choose between the two. But watching what Bivol has done since the year where Better Be If beat Bivol or Better Be If beat Volsdik, I think Bivol has emerged and proved that he's one of the best fighters in the sport. But you can go either way because you can go from the technical ability and the power of Better BF, or you can go with, I just think Bivol is even more technical. I think he's smarter. I don't think he has the power of Better BF, but I think he has the defensive skill. Some people say that most people that's picking Better BF over Bivol are saying Bivol don't have the power to keep Better BF off of him. It doesn't matter if he has defensive skills and all that. Better BF is too good of a pressure fighter for Bivol to deal with. He's just too strong. On the other argument, Bivol is just too smart. He's too defensive. He's gonna neutralize Better BF and his power. The mistakes that everybody makes against Better BF, Bivol won't do it. That's my argument. That's kind of reason why I'm leaning towards Bivol. Um, Luther says Bivol has enough power. I agree with that too. I think Bivol is too. I don't think that Bivol is a dangerous puncher, but I don't think that Bivol is a pillow fisted puncher like some people believe other fighters to be. He's no Paulie Malignaggi. All right. He might not be Adonis Stevenson. He might not be Deontay Wilder, or he might not be Naoya Inoue. But he's a puncher where you're going to respect. You're not going to just walk through him. You don't want to get hit by him. You get what I'm saying? So, Callum Smith, him being the mandatory now, In a perfect world, I would like for them to try to fix this and make it where they can pay Callum Smith to step aside in order to make the Bevo Artur better be a fight. But usually to get a fighter to step aside is for a major fight. And even though that is a very big fight because it would be an undisputed fight, I don't know if these guys are going to be willing to give up their kind of money to Callum Smith to keep him away for a little bit. I don't know if that happens. I don't know. And then sometimes what Bevo says in some of his interviews, it makes me unsure which direction he's actually trying to go. Like sometimes I feel like when he talks about being champion at 168, I'm coming down to 168. Sometimes I feel like he's doesn't care for the Canelo rematch. But when I hear Eddie Hearn talk about the Canelo rematch with Bevo so much, it makes me feel like I don't know, maybe behind the scenes, Eddie knows more than what we know. Maybe he's been working on trying to make that rematch happen. Canelo really wants the rematch. It seems like Canelo wants the rematch. So if they're throwing a bag at Bevo to take that fight, who knows? Bevo might take the fight. So I personally don't feel like we're gonna get this undisputed fight at 175 in 2023. I think if it eventually happens, it won't be this year. Because we're in January. We just got this fight with Yard, right? Better be if has another mandatory account Smith now. They can't pay him to step aside, you know, and I'm sure Bevo is going to have another fight soon. So where do we go? Where do we go? We want an undisputed fight, and Better Beav is doing a good job and remaining unified and holding on to the belts, but and defending his titles. He's doing a great job. He's doing a phenomenal job, but he can't hold on to all of those belts forever. And I think if the Bevo fights eventually happens, it might not be for all four titles. They might be in one of the scenarios like how I felt about Tyson Fury and Usyk right now, because there was a point where they were almost talking about like making Usyk have some mandatory fights before having a Fury fight. And if that was the case, well, I said to you guys, we're never going to get undisputed, just like Crawford and Spence. If Crawford and Spence didn't happen like right now, then we weren't going to get that fight as an undisputed fight. We still may get the fight at 154, but it's probably not going to be for undisputed at this point. I think that's done. And Spence is going to be fighting at Thurman at 154. He's never coming back down. What's the point? He's already been talking about struggling to make the weight. He's been a career welterweight. He's not going to stay down there forever, you know? So in any event, Callum Smith has a good shot, but he has a puncher's chance. He has to land the perfect shot. Not saying he can't. He has a puncher's chance, just like Yard had a puncher's chance, like Joe Smith had a puncher's chance, just like Callum Johnson had a puncher's chance. But I think I'm leaning towards better BF. But Smith is very dangerous because one punch can change the direction of the fight. And I just don't think he does better round by round as Yard did. I think Yard did better as far as winning the rounds. Now, I don't think, yeah, I did finally see the scorecards. I saw the official scorecards this morning. What's up, G Funky? I saw them this morning and I thought they were ridiculous. As much as I wanted Yard to win, he wasn't winning that many rounds. I think two of the judges had Yard up. I don't see how you can give Yard more than 3 rounds. I think even 3 is kind of pushing it, but 3 is kind of like, okay, all right. I think any more than 3 rounds is it's just too much. I don't think he won. I don't think Yard won more than 3 rounds. It's just too much. Like he was doing good. He was giving them a great fight. It was very competitive all the way through. But Better BF was more consistent in each round. Where Yard had his moments, he landed some really good shots. But it was clear to me that Better BF was in control. You know, I just don't see how you three like I score 2 for Yard. in the arena. I scored two. I thought there was a swing round in there, but I can't see more than three. Three is even pushing it, you know. G Funk said I gave Yard 2 rounds. Those scores were on abomination. Yeah, I gave him 2 rounds. I think all the other rounds after the first couple rounds, I felt like Yard again in some of those rounds, like the third round, maybe the fifth or the sixth. There were certain parts of the rounds where I felt like Yard was winning. All right, maybe he'll start out fresh. I think the seventh round, maybe I see. I don't want to get the rounds confused, but I think I remember the seventh round being like a round where Yard for the first minute and a half almost he's winning clearly, and then after that, Better BF just started pummeling him. You know what I'm saying? I just can't deal with it. You know, those judges, I don't know exactly where it was looking at, and if it went to a decision and Yard won a decision, it would have been very unfair, you know. But um, I don't think not many people thought it was going to go to the decision. I mean, even with the picks going into the fight, I don't think anyone left a comment saying that this is going to a decision. I don't think one person. The few people that had Yard winning said it would be by knockout. And the majority of the people that had Better BF winning said it would be by knockout. So it was not, there was no way that fight, you know. I think even the gamblers, you know, everybody hedged it. You know, for the people that picked Yard like I did, everybody hedged it, you know, and I thought the right correct hedge was 6 to 8 or 6 rounds to 8 or 7 rounds to 10 or somewhere around that where for Better BF. I thought that was the educated pick. I think some people that were extremely like that was extreme had it like 3 rounds blowout, something crazy like that. Um anyway, I had a great time. I had a great trip. I had a great trip. Unfortunately I go back home tomorrow. Uh, I probably would have made my way back around here if it wasn't for the pandemic. The pandemic definitely slowed things down. Uh, as far as traveling is concerned, because 2020 I didn't travel at all. 2021 I think I made like 1 or 2 domestic trips, and 2022 was the first year where I started traveling international again. I do really like London. It reminds me of New York, just more peaceful. I received a bunch of comments from people telling me to be careful. That is more dangerous than ever here. Look, man, no disrespect, and I'm sure that London has the crime rate has gone up. I remember when I came here in 2019, people were warning me about the stabbings and the knife assaults and stuff like that. Uh, Do you guys know where I was living before? Not, you know what I'm saying? Like living in New York, you know how many times like I'm driving through crime scenes, like people get shot on a regular, like it's it's just a different type of crime. So, what's up, Dave? Thank you, Dave. Hope you had a great time in London and Paris. Support for the best boxing channel on YouTube. I really appreciate that because when you guys say I'm the best boxing channel, there's a lot of boxing channels that I love and respect, you know. Um, so I really appreciate you saying that. New York City is terrible right now. New York City is the worst it's been since the 90s right now. And you know how bad it was in the 90s. It was really bad. New York City at one point was the one of the most dangerous places in the country in the 90s. And it's got a lot better since then. So I'm careful on wherever I go. It's not like when I'm at home, I'm used to being careful. I'm used to not going to certain areas at certain times of the day. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm used to moving that way. So when I'm here, I'm still watching everything that I'm like everything that I'm doing. I'm very mindful of my surroundings no matter where I go. So I appreciate you guys for reaching out to me and telling me to be careful and stuff like London. I'm sure that the crime is going up everywhere. But when you're from a place where you're used to watching your back and watching where you move, and especially when even when you're in living in an area where you have to watch yourself, um, when I come here, I feel very comfortable here. Okay. I know that this place could have some dangerous crime and all that, but there's nothing here that made me feel unsafe. Even when I've traveled before, I've been to places like I've been to Dominican Republic a lot, where I was off the resort, you know, Costa Rica, Cuba. You know, I've been to other countries where the poverty level is really like Cuba. I was in population, and even there, you have to be careful how you move. Now, there's a part of me that likes the thrill in that for whatever reason. That's just me. I like the thrill. I love the thrill. I like to go to certain places and be with an environment because I want to see how the people live there. But I'm very smart how I do it. I make sure I don't carry much, anything like if I were to ever get robbed or anything like that. I'm not wearing expensive stuff. I'm not carrying a lot of money on me. If you're going to take whatever you take from me, this is stuff that's replaceable. Now, it's never happened to me before. I've never got robbed before, but I know how to move when I'm moving in certain areas. And even back in New York, I'm smart. I'm not carrying a bunch of cash on me. I'm not carrying a bunch of like expensive stuff if I know that I'm going to be in an area where this can happen at, or it's going to draw that kind of attention. I know exactly how to move. So it's no different than any other place. You move cautiously, you move with caution wherever you go, and it goes the same for the states. When I go to other places outside of New York, it's the same thing. I want to probably say that Baltimore, I think Baltimore, out of all the places that I've ever been to, Baltimore was probably the most dangerous place that I've ever been to. I think uh I went there to visit a friend after Uh, this had to be like back in like 2007, maybe. And my friend took me to the area where they filmed most of The Wire, right? Now, this is probably the last time that I went to a different city and I actually specifically went to the worst part of that city. Uh, and I haven't done that again. So when I travel now, people ask me, like, I remember the first time I went to LA. I went to LA to visit a friend one time, and it was my first time going. It was actually the time I went to LA when I was doing the Triple G, uh, what was it, Dominic Wade fight? Some of you guys were here back then. I had traveled to LA and went to go see that fight. My friend was like, "Yo, you want me to take you to the hood just for you to see it?" I was like, "For what? For what? I don't I don't travel to go and see what the hood is at like in places. Like if I go to Chicago, I'm not going to Chicago to go to the hood. I'm going to go to the touristy area. I don't want to see the hood. Like I don't understand what's like the hood is the hood. You get what I'm saying? Like the hood is the hood. No matter what hood you go to, the hood is the hood. You know what I'm saying? Like I never understood that mind. What's up, Aquia? I never understood, yo, you want to go to see what the poverty living driven area is like. For what? I'm from there. I don't want to go there. Like I was born in Lincoln Hospital. I was born in the Bronx. I lived there. Like I remember what it looked like in the 80s in the Bronx during the crack era. I don't want to go visit the hood on vacation. I never understood that. you know? So when people ask me, yo, let's go to this, yo, you want to go see? I think the last time I went to go see the hood when I traveled somewhere was when I went to Baltimore. And Baltimore is top three worst cities in the country. Tank is from B-more. That's worth top three worst cities in America by far. You got Baltimore, you probably got St. Louis. Um, oh damn. I'm sorry, I've been talking. Leonard, I apologize, man. Leonard says Hearn been trying to sell two fight undisputed to Bevo for Canelo at 168. Better BF at 175. He said Canelo not on board. Maybe Canelo changed his mind. I mean, if Canelo can get a fight with Bevo at 168, that is that should be something he would want because you get to drain Bevo and you'll have a better shot. So if he really wants to rematch, that's exactly where he should go because he would have a better time trying to win that fight. All right. Um, yeah, Bedoy 34 says street smart traveler. Cuba's dope for that. Hope you go to Canelo fight in Guadalajara. I like working class though. Go to parties and food. Yeah, I'm not going to that fight. Uh I don't know what he's doing. I do like to travel for fights, and since we're talking about that, and thank you guys for the donations. Since we're talking about that, I want to go see a fight in only a few places at this point. I want to come back here, and I still want to see a fight here, and actually in the actual Wembley Stadium or at the O2 Arena. Um, Even though this was great to watch, uh, I want to see it in a really, really, really live arena. Like from the people that live here, they were telling me like this was great. The fight was great, but you need to go to a fight in the O2 or into the Wembley. Like people that I met, and I'm going to get into them too because I'm going to tell y'all about my trip. I didn't even get to that yet. We getting there though. The people that I met from out here, they were like, yo, that fight was crazy, but that is the standard here. You need to go to a big fight at Wembley Stadium, or you need to go to a fight at the O2. So I still want to do that. In America, I still want to go see a fight out in Texas. I'm willing to do it. Like if they are going to have a fight in Dallas, like I've said before, if Spence fights like Virgil Ortiz Jr. in like Dallas Stadium, I would go. I will go to that fight. So I do want to go to fight in Texas. I've been to fights in Cali. I've been to fights in Vegas. Um, I've been to a couple fights there, but I would like to go to a fight in Texas. I haven't gone to a fight in Texas. I've been in plenty of fights at the Garden at this point. I mean, most of the fights that I've been to was at the Garden and in the Barclays. You know, but I would love to go to a fight in Texas. I haven't done that, and I would love to go to a fight back over here, but at the bigger arenas. Anything else? I would like to go to one. Yeah, I would like to. Who left the comments? Roders says, "Wait, will you go to Saudi Arabia?" Yeah, absolutely. I would like to go to a fight in Saudi Arabia. I'm not dying to do that though. It seems like those fights seem like I never even looked at the tickets there. Um, but it looks like it's a lot of money, and it doesn't look like the energy is crazy. I could be wrong, and if you guys have been to a fight in Saudi Arabia, let me know. But the energy doesn't look like it's like anything crazy. It just looks like a bunch of people with money that's at a fight. I don't feel like when I watch it on TV, I don't feel like it's like diehard boxing fan vibes. Like it feels like top tier money fight every time there's a fight there. I could be wrong. Let me know if you guys been to a fight out there. Cool. Let me know in the comments. But when I look at fights like what Joshua fought, who Joshua fought there recently when he fought Pulev or something. I didn't feel like it just felt like it felt like watching a fight in a ballroom or something. Like it didn't really give me like diehard boxing fan vibes. It gave me like you got to be top tier money guy to be here. I don't really care for that. You know, I like going to events where the tickets are affordable enough, expensive but affordable for me to where I can sit up very close to the fight. Aaron says, "Yo, Wave, you should come here for a couple weeks for Zoo Harrison. Melbourne is the best." That's another place I do want to. I do want to go out there as well. I do. I'm glad you brought that up. Um, I do want to go. I do want to go to Australia in general, just to go. But I would like to go out there to see a fight. You seem like you guys really support your fighters, and thank you for the donation. It seems like you guys really, really support your fighters out there. You know, so I would go to a fight out there at some point. All right. But I can't do too much because these fights do get expensive. These trips do get expensive, especially when you're on the move and you're having fun and having a good time and all that. Um, all right, so let's talk about this trip. So I get here, story time. So I get here on I get here early, early, early Thursday morning. Right. And Thursday is a chill day. Mind you, I came here in 2019 and I did a lot of the tourist attraction stuff, right? I saw the bridges, I saw Big Ben, I went to the aquarium, I went to the museums, I went to different parts. I bounced around each day. It was a longer trip, and I spent each day on that trip to London just exploring, right? So I was a legit tourist. This trip wasn't for that, right? But I did spend my entire second day here in Paris. So I take the Eurostar to Paris, and I don't want to critique it completely. I'm just going to tell you guys my experience there. But this is not like a complete critique of France because I'll only spend one day there. So it would be unfair to tell you guys how I feel about France when I really didn't plan nothing. Yes, smash everybody that's here. Please, let's get these likes up to 100. Everybody, please smash the like button. Do me that favor if you are here. I went to France very, very early in the morning, right? So I took the Eurostar train, which they have, you can go to different countries and stuff, but you have customs. So if you've never been, if you're going to go and do the trips to different countries while you're here, just know that it's the same process of like you going through customs and traveling. Make sure wherever country you're from, check to make sure you don't need a visa or whatever. All I needed was a passport. They no longer really have any strict COVID restrictions anymore. Like especially if you're from the US. David Evans, thank you for the donation. David asked as Crawford signed with Golden Boy. It sure looked like they might be doing a one or two fight deal. If Crawford's gonna go over there, I hope the deal is gonna be because everybody's saying Alexis Rocha. Not that I want that fight, but if he's gonna fight Alexis Rocha, but you better get Virgil Ortiz out of that deal because that's a fight that we actually want to see. If you're not gonna fight Spence, which at this point I stopped complaining about it. I don't care anymore. I don't. I want to see it, but I don't care anymore. Like I've went 4 years of making content about that fight. You're not gonna see me make any more content about that fight, unless they're actually fighting. But if he's gonna go to Golden Boy, I'm assuming it's probably gonna be a two-fight deal to fight Rocha and Virgil Ortiz or something like that. All right, but if he's gonna do the deal with Golden Boy, you better be fighting Virgil Ortiz because A, that's your mandatory, and B, that's a quality fight. Alexa Rocha, good fighter. I know he got a nice knockout and everything, but he's not on Bud's level. I don't even think, I think he's around David Avenesian level at this point, but David Avenesian is even more proven to him, in my opinion. Charles Edward Cheese, thank you, bro. My man, my biggest supporter of the channel says suited and booted. This San Fran game is a tragedy. We'll watch back, please. Yo, I totally forgot about football. I totally forgot about it, man. I don't know what's going on. I haven't checked any of that since I left. All right. I haven't checked anything. People keep sending me stuff with basketball and stuff. I haven't checked any sport, but thank you, man, for this donation. Always appreciate it, brother. Um, yo, so going back to this trip. So I take the Eurostar out there. So I'm there. Now, mind you, I mean, this is why I don't want to critique it too much. I get there and I only had uh two plans. I wanted to go to the Eiffel Tower and I wanted to go to the I don't want to say it wrong now. Louvre Museum, right? The Pyramid Museum. So I wanted to go those two places. All right. I only have a day, so I can't go crazy. So I go to the museum and I go, I get there, and the first thing, transit, like as far as the subway, the train, the underground train, much more difficult in France than it is in London or New York. Bro, I mean, I got there and just to finally get to the train, it took me almost an hour. Just to buy the ticket, I was on a line full of people. Not many people speak English like that, and workers that work there, it was really, really difficult to try to like understand where to go. It wasn't. I figured since it was going to be such a high tourist area that it would be fine. No, it was very difficult. A lot of people, like I had to find someone that was familiar with the place, but was from America to help me out. You know what I'm saying? So we, I finally got my ticket, um, and we went. I had to walk. Basically, the train that I went on was above ground, right in the air. I didn't expect my experience in France and in Paris. I felt, and I've heard this from people, it gave me the same vibes of when I first went to Hollywood for the first time in my life. It looked very poverty driven. And I wasn't expecting that because I'm thinking like I'm in the Paris area. When I think of Paris, I'm thinking of high fashion. I'm thinking of champagne. Like I'm thinking of like, when I get there and I'm on the train, it felt like the New York City subway. It felt like I was on a 4, 5, or the 6 train. Like it felt like I was back home. I'm dead serious. It was very like, oh, okay, this is not London. It's not as clean. It was a different experience. So no big deal. I take the train and I make a spot. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I was supposed to take a bus from there to the Eiffel Tower. I was like, skip the bus. I'm just gonna order Uber. Bro, yeah. This Uber driver was the craziest driver I've ever had in my life. I'm not talking just Uber. I'm talking about from the yellow cabs out in New York. I'm talking about every any car that I've ever sat as a passenger in. This was the craziest car ride I've ever been in my life. It was so crazy that I told the dude to slow down because he almost caused like 3 or 4 accidents just getting to the Eiffel Tower. He's just driving, he's just doing anything. He's just driving crazy. It felt like Grand Theft Auto. This dude was yo. I'm like, bro. I told him, I'm like, yo, we're not in a rush. You can take your time. He didn't. He ignored me. So I'm like, all right, this guy's an asshole, but whatever. So he's just speeding through. We're going around circles. He's just. There was like a point. I don't know what it's called, but it was a big area where there was a big, huge circle, right? And this was a tall tower in the beginning. I mean, in the center. And this guy went around the circle so recklessly. There was traffic that was just flowing around the circle, and he was just cut through in all of them. He didn't give a he didn't care, yo. Let me because I don't want to start cursing. This dude was the craziest, the most reckless driver I've ever seen in my life. So there was a point where we're near the tower, and He's growing through. I don't even know if there were lights. All I know is that he was just disrupting all of the traffic. I'm like, man, I'm not gonna make it here. Like, this is the craziest. So we get there. I told the guy again to slow down. He kind of ignored me again, but he looked kind of crazy. So I was like, man, I'm gonna give this guy 1 star, but I'm gonna wait until like I'm over there before I do it because I don't know if this guy's crazy. Like this dude, the way he looked, he just looked crazy to me. And I was like, man, I don't want to start problems with this dude because I'm in France and I want to make it back. So crazy. I mean, I'm this is a New York that's saying that. So we get to the Eiffel Tower, and the tower is cool. It didn't look as big as I thought it was gonna look like on TV. The way it looked cool. Um, I I made a mistake because I think I'm Superman and I think that I can do whatever. I made a mistake in booking a ticket to go up the tower, but I wanted to take the steps instead of go off the elevator because I'm like, man, I could walk up that thing. It's not that high. That was a bad mistake. I walked up the tower, man. It was crazy. It was freezing. I think this was on Friday. It was freezing out there. So the higher I went, the colder it got. It was very, very cold. But the views from the top of the tower was pretty cool. Like that was definitely dope because you could see like the whole. I felt like you could see the whole Paris and stuff like that. So the towers was cool. I got some souvenirs and all of that. Um, so I left there, and I think from there I took the Uber or I took the train. Now, again, mind you, I don't think I don't think the subways are bad because I'm using Google Maps, but I just think that it was more difficult to use it compared to London. Right? I think it's just a little bit more difficult, and I don't think it's because of the language. I just think that the transition and the way it's set up, like for instance, there was a point where I went down into the hole, and the hole wasn't open for people that were there to purchase tickets, right? So when I went down, I'm looking for the machine to purchase a ticket, and they weren't there. So I had to go back up and then like find an entrance where they had the machine. And I think like little things like that made it like a little frustrating because you just want to get to where you're going. Like when I feel like when I go into the hole here in London, it's pretty like self-explanatory. As long as you got like an app or something, it's pretty easy. Whereas in France is a little bit more difficult. So when I went to the museum, first of all, the museum, uh, damn, I was taught how to say it the other day. Is it Louvre or Louvre? Louvre. So I went to the museum, and the museum is huge. This is definitely the biggest museum. I've been to a lot of museums. This is by far the biggest museum I've ever been to in my life. Um, the size of it is just is draining because you can be on the level where all the art gallery is, and when you look down to the other side, it looks like a mile down, So it's a lot of history in there. It's not one of those places where you can just go and just see everything in one day, So I'm gonna tell you, like when I got there, I like the part where it tells you the history of the actual fortress and how it became a castle and how it became a museum after that, and the history of all behind that. I thought that was cool. And I did most of my time spending most of my time just looking at the statues of the Greek mythologies, like the gods, like like Zeus and Athena and Hercules and all that stuff. I was into that Greek mythology stuff when I was a kid, like in school. So I spend the majority of my time in that area. The area where the Mona Lisa was, that area was too it was way too it was too it was just too much art. Like, it was way too long. I did maybe like half of it, but I did see the Mona Lisa. I did take a picture of the Mona Lisa and everything. Um, This is my problem with museums in general, and that's just not this one. If you go into a museum in like the past decade, it's a completely different experience because nobody's really going there to learn anything. Everybody's going there just to take pictures. So you come across certain, pictures, certain pieces of art, and you can't even get to it because everybody's too busy trying to take selfies. And all you want to do, I might have taken like two pictures inside the entire thing. All you really want to do is read the piece of what's written about the piece of art or the statue you're looking at. You can't even get to it because everybody's just looking to take selfies, and it's kind of annoying. And it's been like that for any gallery you go into or any museum. So it wasn't a greatest experience, but I'm at least glad that I went. All right. I did eat a couple of times while I was there. I went to two different restaurants, not planned restaurants though, not stuff that I did research on. Yes, it is true. The portions of food is much smaller in France. I didn't like the food, but it's because I didn't plan where I was going. I'm sure if I had planned and did research on restaurants like I normally would do, I was just looking for something to eat. And when I went to look for something to eat, I didn't really like the food that I got. All right. I wasn't happy with the food that I got. I wasn't happy with the service. To be honest, I thought a lot of the people out there were rude. Think people bump into you by accident. Everybody's moving really fast. People bump into you and not say excuse me, not say anything. It just I didn't really have a great time. Again, I just I don't want to base everything off one day being there, but it's not a place where I left today or left that day and said, "Oh, I can't wait to come back." No, I went. I felt like it was all right, but it wasn't. I wasn't crazy about it. You know, it was like okay, it's cool. Um, but it was nothing about it that made me say like, "Oh, this was amazing." But again, I only spent one day in the country, and I if I went and had planned and knew exactly where I was gonna go, that would have been a little bit different. All right. Um, so let me tell y'all this crazy story about after the fight. So I go to the fight. I go to the fight by myself, but I'm in the front. The one thing I didn't like about that arena, and I don't know if it's like that everywhere in the UK with fights, but here in this fight last night, there's a big gap between the ring and where paying customers are. So even though I paid for tickets in the front row, I was in an area where all the promoters and all the special pass people were sitting, not the media people, because the media people is in a certain section. There's a large gap there's 5 rows between us, and then there's a barrier. So I was sitting behind, like I saw when Fury came in, Shizora, I saw Frank Warren and Bob Arum sitting in front. It was all cool, but there was too much space. The reason why I had an issue with it is because in the past, when I paid for tickets 4 or 5 rows away from the ring, I was still closer to the ring than where I was paying for a front row ticket here. So I don't know if that's like a normal thing here. I know different arenas are different, even in America. All right, but I've sat closer, and I wasn't far at all. I mean, I'm sure if you guys follow me on social media, you saw the videos that I was posting. I wasn't far at all, but I thought I was gonna be closer than that. I know I understood I'm gonna sit behind like the star that's gonna show up, but I felt like the area I was sitting at was a little bit further than what I was expecting, so it wasn't that bad. So I leave. The fight is over. Everybody's cool. Like I told you guys earlier, you guys, when it comes to boxing, you guys are in different. The energy is much different than what it is in the States. Like it's boxing fans that go to the fight, but they're not as super hyped up as you guys. When I went into the stall, and I said this yesterday, I went to the bathroom stall and I go inside, and everybody's in there is bugging out. Yo, there's guys that's banging on the stall, like, yo, you taking a shit. Hey, bro, you ain't taking a shit in there, get out. Yo, this guy's smoking all over the place. This guy's standing up on the sink. It's dirty in there. Yo, it was like I felt like I was in a public bathroom at like some crazy rock concert or something. Like it was crazy, bro. Like, and yo, in fights in New York, you cannot act like that. You can't be like that. And like they're strict. I'm not talking about crime or anything. I'm talking about like they are crazy at these fights. It's like the hype and the energy is different. I think it's good as far as like the fight. But when I was just like trying to get like drinks and stuff or getting some food, crowd was a little wild. But it made for good boxing. So the fight was over. I met a couple people that were familiar with me from the channel, real cool. So I leave the arena, right? So I walk to the train. Now, this is not like the tube. This is the train that's like from Wembley that goes back to, closer to like the main area of London. So I was looking to take the train. So the train is packed. So I'm just like, damn, maybe I should take a Uber closer. So I'm thinking what so I see these guys standing by the place where you enter. So I go to these guys and I'm like, yo, does this train take you back to like near Baker Street or Bake near the line that I was trying to take? So these guys are like, these are young guys, like they're like mid-20s. He's like, bro, where you from, bro? And I'm like, this happens all the time when I'm here, but I'm like, I'm from New York. He's like, bro, you from New York? Yo, what you doing here? Who you with? So I'm by myself. He's like, oh, bro, that's crazy. Yo, why you come here? And I'm like, I came here for the fight. Like, bro, you came from New York to see this fight? And I said, yes. So there's like 5 dudes. So, dude, they was so excited. Yo, bro, this guy's from New York. Yada, yada. Yo, these guys get so hyped up. So I'm like, he's like, yo. So I'm like, yo, so am I supposed to take this train? He's like, yo, bro, don't get on the train. Matter of fact, get on the train, but come with us. Come with us. We're gonna show you. It's my boy's birthday. We're gonna show you a good time. So I'm like, nah, man, I don't even know you guys. Like, I'm good. He's like, no, no, you gotta come with us, bro. We're gonna show you a good time. You going back to come back with us. Matter of fact, we'll get on the train. I'm like, all right. I'm like, all right, we'll go on the train or whatever. He's like, yeah, let's get on the train. So I was like, yo, we gotta pay. He's like, nah, bro, we not paying for that. Like, look at this. It was a crowd of people out there. He was like, look at all these people right here. You think these people are paying? We going down the train. They're not gonna check. Don't worry about it. We get on the train, bro. You come with us. So I'm like, all right, man. I'm like, all right, whatever. So I get on the train with these guys. Yo, they're bombarding me with a million questions, as you know. Like they asked me what part of New York I'm from. We're talking about all these fights. You know, they're just so excited that I'm even with them, right? So even while we're on the train, there's people that are strangers, even to them, that are listening to the conversation and they join the conversation. And the train is packed. We're in there like sardines. So all these people are like joining the conversation and we're talking about different fights. So they're talking like, yo, this fight, this fight was good, but this fight was nothing. You gotta come to Wembley. You gotta come to Wembley. You gotta, yo, I went to just saw Tyson Fury. Bro, that was crazy, bro. Like it was a million people there. It was a million people out there. You should have been there. Cause this is nothing. This is regular. You need to come to the fight. So, and then they're listening, and then we start talking about Carl Froch, and we're talking about him and Groves fighting, and we're talking about all these fights. And all the other people that we don't know talking now too. So we're on the train, all tight talking boxing. So we get off, we get off the train, and we walk to this I don't want to say the name of the bar, but definitely not my type of place, right? Definitely a younger guy, like crowd in their 20s. Not my vibe, you know what I'm saying? I'm in my 30s. I'm not like I felt like this is like college, post college, not college, but like, young, like mid 20s, like them. So we're in there, man, and these guys we start having drinks, and these guys want me to just yo, yo, man, you so smooth, bro. You so smooth. The way they're talking is so funny because they wanted me to talk to every girl. They were just talking about women, and they wanted me to talk to the women for them. And it was so crazy. I was like, bro, I don't like I'm just chilling, I'm just chilling. I'm just having a good time. Bro, it was just so funny being these guys and see, these guys, I didn't even tell them about the channel. They don't even know that I have a boxing channel. I didn't want them to tell them because they were really cool. They were nice guys, but they were so hyped up. And now we're in there, and they were great guys. So we're talking about life stuff. One started, he's talking to me about credit and money and stocks, and he's just trying to get into his foot in the door with certain things. So we're having real deep conversations. And then it was a moment where people were really drunk, man. People were just like, there was like a guy, there was a couple guys, and they were like kind of tall. And they started, trying to bully one of the guys that I was with. And I had to like press this dude. I didn't want to be in this situation, but I don't like the guy that he was bullying because he basically, one of the guys I was with, he had too much to drink and he bumped him hard. I saw the bump, but he was kind of like he lost his balance, and it was a point where the guy apologized to him, but the taller guy was making a real issue out of it, but he was really drunk too. So these guys are trying to smooth it out, and I'm just like, I'm there, but I'm on the corner of my eye. I'm looking at it like, yo, this is kind of getting wrong because this guy's clearly bigger, but he don't seem like someone to be worried about. So he wouldn't leave it alone. So I stepped in. I said to him like, yo, listen, is there a problem? He said he was sorry. It was a mistake. He's good. He already apologized to you. It was a mistake. He's a good dude, but we don't want to make a problem out of this. Is this going to be a problem? The guy changed his tune up right after that. And I'm not trying to be like, I'm not no super tough guy or anything like that, but I'm not gonna just sit here and just watch someone get bullied like that. Um, Now his boy wasn't so friendly because he was a little bit more drunken than he was, but after that, he was like, "Nah, man, everything was cool." Then he asked me where I was from, and then he started talking to me and stuff. But at that point, I was just like, "All right, I want to get out of here." I want to get out of here. These guys are young. I don't want to get caught up with these guys. Um, so I was just trying to find a way out. Of course, these guys didn't let me go for a while. They would dance. They was just doing too much, spilling alcohol over the place. But it was a good, fun, random night. Like I haven't had like a random fun night like that. It was a good time. And then I eventually end up like, yo, telling these guys like, yo, I'm out of here. And I snuck on. I had to sneak out because they weren't gonna let me go. But I got out of there, and I took an Uber back home. I didn't even take the train or anything. I took an Uber back home. But at this point, it was like 3 in the morning, man. It was like 3:30. It was really, really late. And everything was cool. Everything was smooth after that. But it was just funny because these guys, they was just so hyped, about just me just being from New York and coming for the fight. And everybody I met yesterday, even the guys that it was. So there's a guy that has a YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys are into car YouTube channels, but I follow a lot of car. If you follow Car Wow, there's a guy called Yanni. He makes like he's always on there. He makes car video. He has a bunch of Lambos and stuff like that. Him and his crew was sitting right next to me at the fight. And these guys were great guys. Like we were talking boxing the whole night. We was talking about, being in New York and me visiting here. Yeah, Yanni Mize. He was sitting right next to me, him and his crew. Those guys were aces, man. I had a great time with those guys. Um, there was like five of them. It was Yanni and like three or four other guys. They were sitting right in the front row with me. They were great. We were talking boxing the entire time. Shout out to all of them. I knew who Yanni was, but because I watch him on YouTube, but I didn't tell him I knew who he was. It was like, I don't know. I'm like that. I'm not like, even if you're famous, like I've sat next to people that are famous and didn't tell them that I knew who they were. I kind of like want them to feel comfortable because some people don't want to be, celebrities just want to be normal when they go out, and they don't want to be, they don't want to be sitting by someone that knows them from whatever. So I kind of don't say anything. I just kind of sit next to people and don't say anything. I just talk to them normal. That's kind of like how me and Marcus Brown got cool. Me and Marcus Brown were at a fight. We were at the Terrence Crawford against Hank Lundy fight. I think that's how we met. And we were sitting next to each other. Now I knew who he was, but I was kind of just talking to him like about normal. And I'm like, at some point I told him like, yeah, I've been watching you for a long time. I'm waiting for you to get in. And I talked about this years ago on my channel. I kind of just like letting people just enjoy I respect people's space and their privacy. So that was pretty much it. And today I went to a nice restaurant in Tottenham, and that's it. Came back and jumped on live. But I didn't do too much partying. I did go out the first night, and I went out that night after the fight. Well, I didn't do too much partying. I might go out tonight. I'm gonna see how I feel. I'm actually leaving tomorrow. So I don't want to do too much tonight because I have tomorrow to deal with. I don't want to miss my flight or anything like that. It's not a super early flight, but I just want to be on point for tomorrow. But I will be back. A lot of people were reaching out to me and telling me to reach out to other channels that's from out here. I try to get up with Punch Punch uh what's it, Punch Perfect, Jamie. Uh I didn't get to link up with him. Yeah, I know he was thinking about going to fight for whatever reason he couldn't go. But I was gonna try to link up with him. So maybe I'll try. Like some people ask me to link up, shoot out, hit up Adi and all of these guys. I would like to work with some of these guys, at some point. Um, but the priority is always for me to do my thing. And as much as I would love to work and do videos, and I do plan on doing content with other channels. I'd be so pressed with time, and I just want to put as much content out for me first. That's always a priority. So if I do have downtime, like I'll enjoy other panels and stuff every now and then, but I don't do it that often, because I'm just not that pressed for time. I mean, I don't have that much time available. All right. But great night. The fans out here are great. I plan on coming back. I feel like London is definitely going to be my second home because it's easy for me to come here and get around. And they have so much of what I love about New York. We have everything here. The only thing is here, it's not as big as New York City, but it's cleaner, it's safer, it's not as noisy. And the people really love boxing here. And I think that's the reason why I really, really like it and enjoy it out here. But outside of that, I'm probably going to be back soon, for the right fight. I'll definitely come back. Definitely want to try to get something that's in the O2 or even in Wembley. I'm just, if Fury and Usyk is on a date that is doable for me, maybe I'll go if they have it in Wembley. But if not, they might have that in Saudi Arabia. As much as I would love to go to that fight, I don't know if that's a fight that I want to go to. I'm kind of want to go more into like a Wilder Joshua or like Joshua Tyson Fury fight. Even though Usyk and Fury is an undisputed fight, I can be I honestly don't have that same kind of hype for it as some of the other fights. I just don't, and I don't know if I'm going to travel for that fight. I definitely want to see the fight, but traveling for it and having to see this fight live, I don't know if I want to travel for that. But there are other fights that I am willing to travel back here for, and other places. Uh, some things I left out in my story. Let me just add to that. There's things that I did not include because I don't want to say it on here, but there are things that happened too last night that I'm not gonna say on here. All right, I can't. I wanted to say it last night, but I was like, I probably should leave that part of the story out. But anyway, overall, great trip. And I won't be back online until I get back home. All right, and yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I enjoy you guys out in the UK for showing me all the love uh, on the channel. You know, all of the new subscribers, welcome. You know, and I'm gonna continue to give. You know, I'm very. I try to cover every part of the world. You know, now I know you guys are big fans, but I cover. I try to cover all as much of the sport that I could. You know, I don't. I do have an American bias, of course, but I don't. I like to cover everybody. You know, at least try to. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna get everybody, but I'm gonna try to get. What's up, Tony? I'm gonna try to get as many people as I could. You know, but all right, man. I'm out of here. Again, please smash the like button on your way out, and I probably won't be able to make any content until I get back home. All right, and hopefully the jet lag ain't too bad. I might get back home and want to sleep the entire day. All right. But anyway, I'm out of here, man. Y'all have a good night. And I'll see you guys when I touch back down in New York. All right. Peace.